Hello and welcome back to the Sleuth. Today we're on episode 2 of the podcast and we'll be talking about aliens and do they exist. But the series we're going to kick off is doing a little bit of Bible trivia. So Lane will read us off our first question of the day.
So this is the Ultimate Pocket Edition Bible Challenge by David Cook. Transforming Lives Together at davidcook.com. Not a sponsor, by the way. Philip has something to say?
Wasn't he an American Idol? Is the same David Cook?
I was literally thinking the same thing. Sadly, I do not think he was.
Make Bible trivia?
No.
David Cook, if you're listening and you want to sponsor us with your American Idol money, reach out. All right. So, do we want a New Testament characters, Old Testament characters, objects and events, places, numbers, or general?
Objects and events.
Okay. I have not looked at the answer of this. I haven't looked at the questions. Okay, objects and events. What excuse of Moses led to Aaron being sent to Egypt as Moses' spokesman?
He can't talk.
He can't talk.
He can't talk.
They were mooching off of my knowledge.
I thought it was like he was too nervous to talk.
No, he actually has like a speech disability or something like that.
Wait, so we're I thought that we were like giving it to like our audience if people listen, and we're just gonna say like a radio show.
No, we're doing the Bible trivia.
They can play along.
How are you going to contact them for a radio show?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, you know how they'll like have these challenges. I was just a little bit confused to what was going on.
You didn't seem confused when you answered the question.
Well, I just said what you said. You seemed confident.
Check.
Mooching.
The answer comes from Exodus 4:10-16, and it is, he said he was slow of speech and tongue.
I think that goes to say a little bit of a speech disparity.
All right. So tune in next time for the next Bible challenge.
So far, Wyatt has 1 point.
Lane got it right also.
After I said my answer.
Well, I knew it, so.
You said the wrong answer, though.
Checkmate.
No!
At the end of the day, God knows who knew and who did not.
Good call, Ross.
All right, so we're gonna, like Wyatt said, this episode we're gonna be talking about aliens. Are they real? What contributions have they given us? And Philip said he wanted to start with his opinions, so take it away.
In my opinion, aliens are fallen angels, staying on the biblical line of thinking.
Expand on that.
They are angels that have fallen and turned their, believe it or not, and turned their back on God and decided to advance humanity past essentially what God wanted, and give us things, give us knowledge and possibly technologies that we were not ready for. And yes, just advance humanity.
So I'm gonna say my opinion, unless Lane has anything to add.
Go for it.
So what I'm gonna say is angels are real. It is real that angels fall, I suppose.
Absolutely.
I also think that demons are real. I think that ghosts probably real. I do not think aliens are real. That is what I know.
Expand on that.
So I will expand on that by saying
By expanding.
think that like we are like as an
Farmers.
Earth, basically Earth matters. I don't even know like if these planets are made up or real. I think that Earth is the only planet or plane or whatever you choose to believe in. I know that flat Earth has a lot of backing these days from. I know there's a small community of people, and
Now, let me confirm on that. You said Earth is the only planet?
I think I think it is the only planet, plane, whatever with life. That is what I believe in, because I don't know. I think that humans are the only species with souls, so I just don't think it's kind of weird to think that there's other beings that are like intelligent as us that we would ever encounter, and I don't think that we will ever get intelligent enough to encounter them, and I don't really think that space travel is obtainable. And that is my take.
I also have similar beliefs to Ross.
Similar.
I'm understanding that I did not pronounce that clearly.
Now, do you,
I am understanding that you are mooching off of me, just like
Got him.
you said I did to you.
now, do you believe that space travel is not attainable because you just don't, or do you think it's because NASA destroyed the technology?
So, a little background if people do not know. We
Miss.
have been to the moon, is what people believe, and that is what NASA says. However, they say that we lost the technology, and that is why we haven't been for so long. So, you could make up your mind on that. I don't want to get into those theories right now because that is great for another episode. But I mean, even let's say that we've been to the moon, everything else is so much further away, and we haven't really, I feel like, advanced in those areas.
Here's my take on the whole alien situation. Basically, you hear these reports of UFOs, and you see some videos of something flying in the sky or whatever. See a quick pic, a blurry pic of maybe a Martian every once in a while from Area 51. But I am obviously UFO just stands for unidentified flying object. I do not think that there are like people from another planet coming and like checking the Earth out or something like that. Like, I definitely think that whatever is flying around in the sky or whatever is definitely just unknown, and most likely whatever, like, just unknown. But I think that whoever is doing the flying around or whatever is trying to perpetuate a belief of aliens to possibly in the future have like a fake alien attack, fake alien invasion that will then we'll all have to like band together, and the Antichrist will rise or whatever, and it'll be like New World Order type stuff. And that's why they want you to believe in aliens, so that you believe there's going to be this fake alien invasion, and possibly whatever UFOs we're seeing are like maybe some like they're like testing some technology out. However, I don't know why they'd be flying around in like areas that could be filmed, or I know a lot of times they're filmed from like Air Force jets and stuff like that. So I don't know a whole bunch about that. They're not really keeping it as classified as maybe they would want to, but maybe they're also doing that on purpose to release videos of fake UFOs or real UFOs, but they're not actually aliens, to, spread the belief of real life aliens.
Yeah, so going off of that, I mostly agree with what Wyatt said. I think it could also, I guess, to state, I don't really believe in aliens, for reasons I can talk about in a minute. But for what Wyatt said, like, assuming aliens don't exist, and it's like, well, where do these UFO images come from? Where do these Martian, whatever, from the Air Force? And I guess not to get too deep into the conspiracies, but, I think it's possible, kind of like Wyatt was implying, that, if there is some sort of conspiracy to make humanity believe in aliens, to, like, unite against some threat, to create, like, some global, society, some global government, that's possible. I also think, though, if whoever it be, I don't want to get too deep, like Illuminati, elites, whoever you want to say, whoever's in control of everything, is trying to make people believe in aliens, could be to make humanity think of ourselves as insignificant and like we're not special. But the Bible, I think, is very clear that we are his creation that's made in the image of God. Or if you're Adam, or if you're Ross or Philip, made in the image of Adam, who was made in the image of God. But either way, like it was us who was made in it, and we are important. And Jesus sent his son to die for us, right? And I don't really see that happening in any other aliens. Like I don't think God sent Jesus to like Mars and Jupiter and any other planets to die for their civilizations. Like he sent his son here. God sent Jesus in human form here to die for us. And I think if the governments or the powers that be can convince us that we're just some tiny speck in the universe and there's a million billion other planets and a million other life forms out there and we're insignificant, that can take our focus off God and forget how special we really are to him and the personal connection we're supposed to have to him.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack between like what both of you guys said. First
Good
of all,
luck.
Lane said he talked about how Ross and Philip, or if you guys like them, you guys think that Adam, or we're made in the image of Adam. Basically, where he got that from, which this is something I looked into
100 times
for not really any particular reason. I was just reading, and in Genesis it says that man or Adam was made in God's image, and then later it says that like man was then created in Adam's likeness. And what I was kind of saying is like, maybe image and likeness are the same thing. But basically the conclusion of mine was it does not matter. And I talked with other people about it that are like really into the Bible. I mean, they have groups and stuff, like it's their job. And what they said is somehow they went down the same rabbit hole. And what they said is that like maybe humans are in Adam's image or likeness until they get like baptized and then they become back in God's image. But going off of like what basically they said with New World Order, like kind of aliens using them as insignificant or like basically people pulling the strings on this stuff. One thing that I believe is like, also fear. There could be a fear of aliens, which is push, and fear could distract us from other things, and it could like heavily just manipulate our brains. But that's again going to conspiracy theories, like which we don't really need to get into. But obviously, take that how you will.
Now I know most of you, or I guess both of you, Lane and Ross, have both mentioned not getting into conspiracy theories, but I feel like this is a conspiracy theory. Like I think most people believe there are aliens, but what we're saying is like this is all propaganda, alien propaganda, like nothing, this isn't real. This is like a government thing or whatever, high elites. They're like wanting you to think a certain way to then go on and do New World Order, which sounds like a pretty big conspiracy theory.
My opinion was more spiritual. Your guys' was more illusionary.
What do you mean by that? Because I'm honestly a little bit confused.
I already explained my opinions about fallen angels.
How are ours like illusionary? Like
that it was fake and brought on by the elites.
Oh.
To make fear, propaganda.
Okay, yeah. And one reason why, I mean, I believe
define
in that.
Illusionary.
If you like look into like why people believe in aliens, it's not really going to be from encounters. 99.9% of the time, it's kind of just like the sense of there are so many planets out there that like if you do this equation, there has to be mathematically this many planets like Earth that could sustain life, which if we don't have like legit pictures or evidence of this, which I honestly don't think that we do, like there's no way that we could send stuff in my mind that far out of even our solar system whenever we can't do space travel or anything. So it's like, how do you really know? And the answer is we don't. It's all just guessing, and they would have to be intelligent enough or advanced enough to also come to us. So that is why I believe that we're not encountering them. But, there could be other things used in it.
Yeah, so I don't really understand what Phil's view on this is. We're talking about aliens, but he's like spiritual or something. I'm like, what?
Ditto.
Yeah, so my view on aliens is spiritual.
Yeah, no, it is.
What?
I think that like all of the
He thinks they're angels.
By the way, I was not listening when he explained.
dude. So all like the technology. I think Lane mentioned the other day actually that
Save it for the pod.
this is the
You should have
We're
told me.
here.
You should have told me then.
that like the pictures that you see from the fighter jets or whatever is like military technology or something. That's just like unreleased.
It's a smudge on the camera.
There is no camera to talk about. I get what you're saying now. I think that those technologies could have been like given by fallen angels that were essentially trying to advance humanity past what God originally intended. I think that could also be. I don't know if any of you know about the Book of Enoch.
Definitely worth mentioning.
But theories pertaining to fallen angels teaching people alchemy and like how to basically forge steel and iron and stuff like that.
Like Eternals.
Yeah, like getting our like how humanity got tools.
What someone told me was that they thought that the aliens or whatever UFOs, whatever aliens, whatever you want to call it, he thought they were Nephilim. That they were like still around, like whatever like there
Same
was
idea.
like somehow there were still some Nephilim left, and the ones that were left are in these like spacecrafts because they're so advanced in tech, because they come from possibly fallen angels or something like that.
Absolutely.
And so they are the ones like flying around. He also said they lived, or like this same person also told me they lived on the moon, or like they lived like behind the moon or something like that. I tried looking that up and I didn't find anything, so I don't really know how or how he found out about that.
Pink Floyd's been trying to tell us the whole time.
Wayne, do you want to go? You seem pretty eager. If you want to go first, you may.
You can go ahead.
So there is a lot that we could get into with like maybe Nephilim, because correct me if I'm wrong, those are giants, right? Yeah. I'm not completely.
Giant.
Hopefully, I don't know if the mic picked that up, but they said yes.
Okay, here's my interpretation of Nephilim, and if you disagree or if I'm wrong or remembering wrong.
If you get it wrong, I think I have it pretty right.
So here's my take: is there were angels in heaven, and then there were fallen angels that came to earth at some point. And those fallen angels had children with the women of earth, and those children were giants that were the Nephilim.
Yes, and that is my understanding. That is what I've been told. Maybe by you, I'm sure we've talked about it, but that is what I've been told. But the problem with like saying maybe they lived in stuff is it kind of goes with like, is God a knowing, or like the purpose of the flood was to like kill all of like the wicked and all that.
And the Nephilim.
Yes, and from what we know, there was no Nephilim on the ark. It was Noah, his wife, his 3 kids, and their wives, so 8 people, plus 7 pairs.
They were flying around UFOs, though.
But, I mean, I don't know if the UFOs could go high enough to go higher than the peaks of Everest. Obviously, they can't. I just wanted to
They live on the back of the moon.
I do believe that the flood of the earth was a flood of the entire earth.
While we're on the topic of Nephilim and fallen angels, though, it might be a good time to introduce the pyramids.
Yes, okay, so that is also something I wanted to say, because you're talking about Enoch and the fallen angels, how they would maybe teach alchemy or bring technology.
Advancing technology.
And yeah, so ancient civilizations, incredibly advanced. You look at Egypt, the Mayans, like literally any of them. A lot of them were big into like astrology and all that stuff too. And something I wanted to bring to your guys' attention is like there are very big similarities with all these civilizations, which like I mean pyramids are big in a lot of different places. And something that could lead to that is a theory is fallen angels going around and teaching them technology. And I have a picture I'm going to show you guys, and we'll put it on the screen.
I think kind of what Ross is talking about here is nobody knows what that is.
So I'm going to describe it.
Is that a bucket?
It kind of is a bucket.
I think what Ross is trying to talk about with like the pyramids is, so we had like the Mayans and the Aztecs in South America. You have like the Indians from India, not American Indians, but the Indians and like the Egyptians all made these giant pyramids like around the same time.
There's pyramids in India?
I don't know.
There is another area.
Or maybe it's not India.
This is all off the top of our head.
Yeah, it's there's somewhere in Asia I think has pyramids. For sure, Egypt and South America does at least. And it's like those are on the opposite sides of the world, or across the world.
Yes.
From each other, and so it's like why at the same time were two totally different cultures building these giant structures that look very similar? What was going on? And Ross is saying maybe it has something to do with some fallen angels.
Yes.
Or aliens influencing.
And I sent you guys a picture. Why you probably can't look at it, but I'll just show you. And I'm going to describe it. So basically, it's like these carvings, and it's like kind of showing like a god figure or like somebody, at least that they valued, with a bag. And it like looks, and this is also very similar across the civilizations. And it could be like that bag could be like fallen angels maybe bringing them technology, or they have a bag of teaching them, or something like a bag of knowledge. I just invented that off the top of my head. Or something that I kind of thought about whenever I first heard this, because I heard it somewhere else, and that's how I knew to show this picture. It's like, who was it that was cursed to walk the earth?
Cain.
Is it Cain? That's who I thought. So what if he, since he was alive for so long, maybe, it's possible they lived and never talked about him dying, in my opinion, but I do think he definitely is dead. What if he just like learned a lot and just roamed the earth and kind of intertwined all these ancient civilizations that kind of believe the same things? Just a thought.
So, my problem with that specifically, Ross, is Cain would have for sure died in the flood, if nothing else. It like maybe he died before.
He swam.
But right, okay. So, but the flood happened before pyramids were built. So if you're like Cain went around the world and spread all these cultures, all of them would have died in the flood, and the pyramids weren't built till later. I think
Allegedly.
Unless you're saying the pyramids were built before the
pre-flood. That's why. So someone, not
There's
someone.
No way the Egyptians and the
Someone
Aztecs
told me
were
that.
pre-flood.
So because the pyramids were originally white, which I think was limestone. They were completely smooth. Ross says something.
I believe they're limestone anyway. I just think like they were smooth, and that's why they looked white, and they were reflective, and the top was gold, the peak.
So
I think.
And the reason they're not that way now is because the flood. Someone I read this
you're
somewhere.
Saying,
So
what if we're wrongly attributing? Like, what if the pyramids are older than the Egyptians?
Yes. So that's what that's what I read. Like they're older. They're way older than we think. They date pre-flood. The Egyptians just happen to come there, and obviously,
maybe that's even why they stopped there.
Yeah,
they built a civilization around the pyramids.
Yeah, and there's not much. Like I think they say that they're like tombs for pharaohs or something like that, but they would have been built over like 100 years. So that's a bit. I think that was ranging 3 pharaohs, and I don't know. It just seems a bit like a stretch, and I don't think that they have actually. They've either said that they found tombs or something in the pyramids, but there's been no photos released. There's been no like something. There is some conspiracy around like if there actually is mummies or whatever pharaohs found within the actual pyramids, which is like that's the whole reason they're saying the pyramids are built is to house these graves of the pharaohs. But I'm not really sure if they've released that much information to where I could 100% say, okay, these were built for the graves. But yeah, someone told me they predated the floods, and that's why they look like pretty damaged now. Obviously, they're super, super old, so that would make sense too. But on top of that, they also went through the entire flood.
The precision that these stones are made out of is also something to note, because it's kind of suspicious how perfect it all is. So that could be something maybe like non-human, I guess is the best way to put it, or like the fallen angels. It could have been something like that.
Pre-flood giants,
also,
which are probably smart. I don't know.
No, they're supposed to be. Nephilim are supposed to be highly intelligent and innately bad. Like they are. Yeah. There's no good Nephilim apparently. So that's why the whole like, if aliens are Nephilim, they're going to eventually try and come back and take over the world, and then the Antichrist is going to like wreck them or something, and then that's New World Order.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that. That's actually a really good point. And then also the fact, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's definitely a rumor that pyramids are also like ancient power grids, and that could be another example of like technology being advanced.
Tell me you know more about that, Ross.
Unfortunately,
tell me.
I don't think I know what you hope I know. If you know, I could pass the mic. But what I do know is I do like the pre-flood, because I mean there is a lot of weathering and erosion that happened to them. They don't look like how they used to, and I mean these would be. A lot of people think that it'd be impossible to build today. I think that humans could probably build them today if we really did it, because I think that people underrate if we really need to get something done. But I do like the idea of giants creating them and them being pre-flood. And the reason why is also, if you look at, like, for example, the Sphinx, the head looks like it was carved out. Because think about how precise the pyramids were. It's like the head is so unproportionate, like on the Sphinx, that it looks like maybe the Egyptians did colonize with the pyramids, and maybe they just like added their twist to the Sphinx, and that's why the head looks kind of funky.
Yeah, personally, I don't like the idea of pyramids as tombs. I think that's. I mean, like, I get.
What do you mean you don't like the idea of that?
I mean,
it sounds pretty reasonable to me.
I mean, yeah, but like, I feel like it's because that's the way that we were taught. Like, if you like.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, but I don't think it's like crazy.
Like,
what, the pyramids are tombs?
Like, yeah,
I don't think that's crazy.
Like, yeah, you wanted like a good place to like have your body, but like, well, surely that's not it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, the people that these tombs were made for, of what history would believe us to say, which I'm not saying is wrong, but it would be like that. These are like for the pharaohs, which are like gods to the Egyptians. So it makes sense that they'd be like these grand structures or tombs. But if we think of that in today's sense, like economically, pyramids would be so expensive, require so much manpower.
Yeah.
Where obviously no human today is worshipped like that to that degree to where it would justify or like make pyramids ever happen, in my opinion.
But also just to go back on like the like possible reasons for the pyramids. So what I read / what someone told me was that there's like, so obviously with a river, you have like the main part where there's open water flowing through a canal, but also you have like you have rivers that are underground that just move with the soil, obviously just very, very slow. And so under the pyramids, there are actually underwater or underground rivers that flow and create a whole bunch of friction and energy that are underneath the pyramids, and then somehow that's channeled through the pyramid or something, and then onto the gold tip, and then that's like shot up into the sky like a beacon of like energy, and it's like free energy that could power anything you could want, and something with that Tesla guy or whatever, not Elon Musk, but like Nick Tesla, whatever his name is. Nikolai Tesla, and somehow he was able to also understand the pyramid structure and was able to use that to create whatever. He might be created the light bulb or something like that. I don't know.
Here is the Wikipedia page for pyramid power. Pyramid power refers to the belief that the ancient Egyptian pyramids and objects of similar shape can confer a variety of benefits. Among these assumed properties are the ability to preserve food, sharpen or maintain the sharpness of razor blades, improve health, function as a thought form incubator, trigger sexual urges, and cause other effects. Such unverified conjectures regarding pyramids are collectively known as pyramidology. There is no scientific evidence that pyramid power exists. That's Wikipedia, of course. That's
Big Pyramid not wanting you to realize the full potential of the pyramids.
And then I clicked on pyramidology Wikipedia page, and there's subsections. One of them is Christian pyramidology, but sadly there's not much here. And like I read it, and it doesn't really say much. It basically just says there's some guys who like think that the pyramids play like a big part in like Revelation time and like the end times, and like the pyramids will be used, but it doesn't really. It's like here's some books you can read, but it doesn't really go into it that much. So yeah, there's a quick little Wikipedia check. Also, I'll just say before we get too like I'm fine talking about this, but before we get like too super off track. So when we're talking about aliens, and if they're Nephilim, if they're fallen angels, whatever. So to me, when people are talking about aliens, they're meaning extraterrestrial beings, ET.
Yes, not like immigrants or something like that. It's what we're talking. If you're confused, we're not talking about immigrants. We're talking about like extraterrestrial beings, non-humans.
No, right,
just to clarify.
So I think, but like when you look at the word extraterrestrial, like I believe terrestrial means like planet. Like it means like
sounds about right
like,
to me.
Like it means or like ground or whatever.
Definitely don't know, but gonna take your word for it.
But like terraria, like it means like ground terrarium.
It sounds right to me.
Tyrannosaur.
I don't know if it is right, but I believe it to be.
I'm pretty sure it is. I took Latin.
You could have said something even more wrong, and I would have believed it.
I took Latin. So what I'm getting at with this is people think of aliens as beings from other planets. And that goes back to what I was saying on there's a million billion planets out there. There must be life somewhere on them. But what we're talking about, what Philip's saying, is like if there are, quote, aliens, confirmed what I thought about terrestrial. Terrestrial meaning relating to Earth, and extra meaning like other, or out there. So other things, other planets, other Earths. Lowercase e on Earth. When they're talking about there's other planets out there, well, we're talking about Nephilim, maybe fallen angels. Again, these aren't really beings that are outside of Earth. These aren't beings that are from other planets. Nephilim are certainly from Earth, and angels are from heaven, but that's not from another planet. Those are angels from heaven coming to Earth. They're not out there. They're not anything else, and that's I think like this universal insignificance that people think of, like, oh, there must be aliens out there. And what we're saying is, number one, I don't think there are aliens. Philip, I think they're Nephilim or fallen angels, Ross, whatever. And we might disagree there. But I think we do agree, if they are aliens, they're not from other planets. They are from Earth or some sort of mix of Earth and heaven angels.
Yeah, like people aren't going to think of like Nephilim and like stuff like that as aliens, but we...
Nephilim are outside of this room.
They don't.
Yes, but we are like using these other things to kind of explain aliens. Or just like saying what we think.
I guess the real question is: are what we are perceiving as UFOs? Are they government or are they Nephilim?
I think government. Me personally.
I agree with
As a
Lane.
person.
I think, like, unless it's possible after the flood, more Nephilim were created. So it's possible. And I've heard a lot. I don't really want to get into or talk about it because I have zero sources, but I have heard a lot through the grapevine about Nephilim potentially living in caves, and there being a lot of stuff like that. And
Like
governments do
cave
restrict
humans.
caves heavily. And there is a lot of
Missouri's the case.
interesting stuff about caves, but I think that it's definitely government because I don't know. But at the end of the day, I have no idea about anything I am saying right now.
So what I'm hearing is, if you think that it's government, and the government is also telling you, hey, there's these unidentified flying objects flying around. There's kind of a lot of them. It's kind of scary. You would be on the train of government using fake UFOs to perpetuate the alien theory to then possibly go into New World Order type stuff.
But here's the thing: if you really consider the big picture, if the fallen angels are like advancing to the certain point, and we're saying government's covering it up, we could still both be right, and like maybe they could be working together to form the New World Order, which then creates the end of times and Revelation, like apocalyptic events.
Joe Biden, also known as the 46, could be a fallen angel. It's a joke. But what I am also saying, I believe, potentially with like the government being able to, like, I think that the governments or the people that run the world, whatever, I think that they have access to much higher technology than it is believed that we have. That like hasn't been, like, basically that capitalism or whatever like hasn't taken over yet to commercialize so that like we could have it. Does that make sense?
I'm not really sure where you're going with that one, but is it worth explaining?
I mean, it takes like 5 seconds to explain. Do not time it though. Lane is counting down his fingers. I'm nervous. But basically, I think that the governments have like a ton of technology. Like, I think that these aren't like smudges on cameras, these UFOs. I don't think the pilots are in on it that are seeing it, or the Navy crews or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that these are actual like drones or like ships. These are something, and it is really high-tech technology.
This is a completely other conspiracy, but kind of going back to what I was saying, if we're going to assume that a lot of the world's current elite have possibly like sold their souls or whatever, it is possible that the devil's army, the fallen angels that I believe that aliens are, could be infiltrating and working with the governments of the world to form the New World Order, is what I was kind of trying to get at.
So this is actually kind of on topic. This is the thought that I just had, a new, unique thought. What if a Nephilim and a human had a kid, and then that kid is like half giant, half not giant, and then that one had a kid with another human, and then it just is a perpetual cycle. And so now, what is like a semi-Nephilim, or at least has some giant, Nephilim, giant, same word, in them, but they just look like a regular person, and those are the elites that are trying to do New World Order, whatever you want to call it.
Only Noah's family survived the flood.
UFOs.
What I said earlier, which could be an explanation, is you are correct. There was 8 people that survived the flood, but like more fallen angels could have populated and created more Nephilim.
Yes.
Get wrecked.
So, basically, I did point over at Lane, and I think that he thought I wanted him to say that. But what I was really hoping Lane would have an answer to what Wyatt said. He's really smart.
I
and
did.
but
He just
I
countered.
countered your answer too quickly.
Okay, but your counter is this thing that could happen that the Bible never says happens. No, it could happen.
Okay, but
Like that's your answer.
consider
like you saying that could happen. It just as likely could not happen.
yes.
Like there's no reason to
It
believe.
works if you go down my line of thinking.
There's no reason to
Wait.
believe that more fallen angels have come because it doesn't say that happens in the Bible.
Okay.
Wyatt is
You-
Phil and Wyatt are begging for the
Okay,
mics.
everybody
Thankfully,
calm
Ross
down. We only have 2
Thank you
mics.
so much.
What I can
Here's
say
what I will
is
say,
this.
though.
Let me. Yeah, then you go, please. I'm begging. But this is
Ross is on his
this is
heels.
all I think that like we don't know about aliens. Like this is all I think,
Just like
and that is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah,
So I don't think it's a miss, but you're right. No, it is
something to say.
a shot in the dark answering Wyatt's question.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously,
Just point
everyone. There's something I have to say that's so.
No,
it's
you don't
so
even understand how important of a thing I have to say.
unbelievably important that I say this.
Ross and Wyatt, welcome to my side.
I don't know what side Philip is on or thinks I've joined, but
Not just government. The fallen angels are.
no. It's what. So what Lane is saying is that it's possible. It's possible that there were
But
Nephilim
is it
after the flood.
plausible?
After the flood,
But is it?
but he's
plausible?
saying that there's probably not, or that maybe there's just as much of a chance that there isn't versus there is. But for some reason, he is leaning towards the not side when he's also saying, "Oh, there's just as much of a chance as is than there is not." But for some reason, is leaning toward is not, which is just a check on his internal heart, honestly.
I mean, I'm leaning towards it because there's no reason to believe it's true. Like it's with like everything. Like,
But that is the problem. That is with everything. Not everything is in the Bible. So it is kind of
well,
like
yeah.
there is a lot of things and not
No,
a lot of
for me,
no's.
it's like no, I agree.
That's a good
Obviously,
quote. Did you guys hear
everyone
that? I'm going to say that one more time for the viewers just so they soak it in. There's a lot of things, not a lot of no's. Said by Ross. You may continue.
I don't know what I was gonna say.
Like Joe Biden could be a Nephilim, descendant of one. He could be.
Okay. No, so for me, yeah, I do lean. I lean towards if I like it's. What was I had it worded so
Nice
perfectly.
try.
I had it so good, and then
Yeah,
Ross
right.
had to repeat
What you're
what
trying to
his
say is
quote.
if it were to be true, it would be in the Bible.
Well,
Or
no,
something like
yeah,
that.
I mean it's something along the lines of like if I don't have any reason to believe it, why would I believe it? Like there's
Because
no,
you
there's,
said there's just as good of a chance as it is being true.
okay, but like I'm not gonna like okay right now there's just as good of a chance that
Time for a lame
Philip's
anecdote.
parents are in the kitchen as they are in upstairs. Like there's no reason to believe one is more true than the other.
Do you think that
It's
the
a bad
Antichrist just gets
metaphor.
elected? Or do you think there's collusion?
Listen, here's what I'm saying. Philip, no one can even hear what he just said because he's on the mic, and it was irrelevant anyway. What? Okay, two
It was
things.
relevant.
Two things. First of all, what I need you guys to know is it talks about Nephilim after Genesis. In fact, it talks about them in the book of Joshua, I believe.
Please enlighten us.
So, and I'm surprised no one has brought that up.
So yeah, that's after flood.
Exactly. I'm surprised no one's brought that up yet. You're welcome.
We got 'em.
You're welcome for handing you that softball.
I literally said it. I theorized
You
it
didn't
first.
say it. You didn't say
I
it.
theorized it in my mind, and then
I will.
it was
I'll get
true.
to that. I'll get to that. But first, all I'm trying to say is, for me, there's no reason to believe it's true when nothing suggests it's true.
You believe
But-
what to be true?
I believe that all the Nephilim died in the flood because that's what I think that's what the Bible suggests the most. There's nothing to believe that angels came back at some point and had children with humans again. They could have, but there's no reason to believe they did other than we kind of want it to be true.
Do you want to explain the
when
Joshua
it talks about it
situation?
in Joshua, yes. So here's what it says. I'm not sure exactly, and since there's three other people, maybe someone can look up the verse and read it. And I'm not for sure it's Joshua. I'm pretty sure it is though. It's because so the Israelites are going to the Promised Land. This actually might be before the wilderness. Joshua was after the wilderness. I can't remember. It might be like Deuteronomy or something like that. But
numbers even.
Yeah, it very well could be. I'm really not for sure where it is, but at some point it's when what's his name, Caleb and Joshua. Is it Caleb?
It is Caleb.
They're going into the promised land. They're scoping it out for the first time. They're like, it's a land of milk and honey. And then they come back and report, and everyone's like, we don't want to go. And then they don't have faith in God, and that's why they have to do the wilderness.
It might be Aaron, actually.
It's not. That's the reason they have to do the wilderness, is because they don't have faith in God that He'll deliver them. The reason why they didn't want to go into the promised land then is because they went there, and they said that they saw giants. And I can't remember the exact quote, and it is crucial to have the exact quote. But there's something that's like, it says something like, we saw Nephilim there. Or something like that.
That would be crazy.
Okay, right. That's what they say. They
actually didn't say that though. They didn't see. They were seeing it wrong.
No,
his perspective.
No. I've heard viewpoints. I've heard viewpoints that say what they saw there were big people, and they could have been giant. We don't know what they saw because we weren't there, but they saw people, and they either thought they were Nephilim, or that they were just using that word to relay how big these people looked to everyone else, because the stories of the Nephilim had been passed down through Noah, through Abraham through Abraham and Isaac, and blah 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 blah. So the Israelites very well know those stories in Genesis because they've been passed down for generations. So they're like, we went there, we saw some huge scary people, some Philistines or whatever. We saw Goliath, whatever. Not Goliath. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what I mean. I was going to go to Goliath.
I would be a Nephilim. We saw some big people. They looked like the Nephilim in the stories we're told, and we're scared. Maybe they were Nephilim, maybe they weren't. But to my knowledge, those are the only two times Nephilim are mentioned. That time in Genesis 3, and then that time in Joshua, Numbers, Leviticus, whenever that is.
Ross, do we have the
I've been talking
the Bible verse?
Someone else.
No, I think you are talking about important things, though.
I have also heard the theory that Goliath is a Nephilim or a descendant of one, kind of like Wyatt was talking about.
I personally do not believe that. I just think Goliath was tall. But what I will say is,
I'll try to right now. I'd say something about
I'm kind of skimming. There's a million. I'm going to show them how long this bar to the side is. Like, there's so much to read. I'm going to toss my friend Lane. Maybe he could find it. But I do believe what Lane was talking about.
Okay, got it.
I trust him, and I think that he's probably right, is my conclusion.
I'll look for the verse.
What I know is Wendigoon actually spoke about this recently, and I don't know if he's correct. I don't know what he was citing exactly, but I think what he was saying is the word that Goliath is used, like the describing word of Goliath was actually just like very tall man or something. Like it was not translated as Nephilim. Now, some people might believe like giant, whatever, very tall man, giant, could be Nephilim. Possibly Goliath was a Nephilim, but I think that the legit, straight up translated word is very tall man. And I think he referenced he's 6'10" or something like that. So not even that
tall.
crazy. I mean, it's tall, but it's not
Yeah.
Whenever I hear Nephilim, I think 9 foot, 10 foot, somewhere around there, maybe even more. I don't even know, but so I don't know. It's hard, but just because of the translations and whatnot.
Joe Biden could be a descendant of Nephilim.
I mean, he could be.
I don't see why Goliath.
I mean, in Joshua, they apparently they saw Nephilim, and in my opinion though, if they say they saw Nephilim. If that's what it is in the Bible, I think it's probably that's what they saw. I think it might be trying to read between the lines, oh no, they knew stories, and then so that's why they said that word. I think that might be stretching it a bit, but that's also me being biased and wanting there to be giants.
People are begging me to take the mic. This is Numbers, chapter 13. It's not Joshua. I knew it wasn't Joshua because that'd be too late.
I think I said Numbers.
No,
I think you said Numbers too.
I said Numbers. You said Deuteronomy.
Numbers chapter 13.
Run it back.
Verse 1, the Lord said to Moses, send some people to explore the land of Canaan, which I'm giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders.
Send Aaron.
Then it's going down the list of the people they sent. And these are the names of the men Moses sent to explore the land. Okay, jumping to verse 17. Let's go to verse 26. So it says they went off and explored. Verse 26. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community. They then reported, they reported to them, to the whole assembly, to the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account. We went to the land which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here's its fruit, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. Okay. Going down to verse 30. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. So Caleb says we should go anyway. 31. But the men who had gone up with Caleb, said, we can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. This is ESV, by the way. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. That is the end of chapter 13 of Numbers. So what I found from
possibly bigger than 10.
the very first Google search, which is Olive Tree Blog, olivetree.com,
Seems reputable.
it says it has a list of all the times the word Nephilim appears in the Bible, and it's that what I just read, and the verse in Genesis, right before the flood that we all have been talking about this whole time. So that's what I got.
So
That's the verse in
losing a
Numbers.
debate if it's to himself, is the question.
I win.
So you do change stances, like you do think that Nephilim were repopulated. So you're still in the same field where you think that those were just really tall human beings.
Well, what it seems to me, like maybe in that story, Caleb is like, let's go to this place, but then all these other people are like, no, they're too strong. They're Nephilim even. They're even there's no way. Let's not go there. Let's just stay here. Let's not go to the promised land, whatever. But
Can I see that verse really quick?
Good thing I told you where it was.
but the verse prior says they're descendants of whatever Anak. What is his name?
Yeah.
So
I don't really know what that means.
but that sounded like that was like a fact. Like they are descendants of whatever's Anak, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was this story of all the people being like, no, let's not go there. But then Caleb's like, no, we're good.
It's also worth mentioning, maybe, I don't know if this is worth it, but this is after they've escaped from Israel. They're going, God's like, I promise you the land of Canaan. It's flowing with milk and honey. Go check it out and live there forever. The Israelites go. And this happens. Caleb, and I think Joshua, but it doesn't say Joshua, but I could have sworn it's Caleb and Joshua with some other guys go in there. They come back, and Caleb's like, yeah, it's pretty hype in there. And Joshua's like, yeah, it's pretty clutch, pretty bougie. And they want to go, they're like, we can take those losers, they suck. And then everyone else is like,
Scared.
no, it's too scary, blah, 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 blah. Like Wyatt said, maybe they're saying it was even the Nephilim. I don't know, right? We just know what they say. What I will say is because they don't go and they don't trust God, that God's like, I gave it to you, you have it. And they're like, no, we can't take them. And God's like, no, you can do it, I am giving you power. They don't have faith in God. Okay, so they explore the wilderness for 40 years. At the end of those 40 years, whenever they're done and they go back to Canaan, not everyone gets in. Not everyone gets to go into the land of Canaan. Because they didn't have faith. Like Joshua gets to go, not even Moses, but that's for a different reason.
Rock.
But yes, that's the rock thing. But yeah, Moses doesn't get to go in. Caleb and his kids get to go in. Joshua and his kids get to go in. Basically, the people who did trust in God get to go in. So I say this to say Wyatt's theory of them being like they just didn't have faith in God, and they were coming. It seems like they were coming up with any excuse to try to convince people to not go in, and God eventually punished them for that in the end. All of that said, I might be wrong, and these might truly be Nephilim. We just don't know. But those are the two times it's mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah, the answer is it's still gray area, but I do think whenever you first read it, I did kind of think like, oh yeah, like Nephilim probably means Nephilim there. But hearing like what you guys said, it's like, oh yeah, maybe no, let's just stay here. Let's not like I think that I'm leaning more, whereas Nephilim was probably a lie or like just a lack of trust. I do like that. I subscribe to that theory, one might say.
So, after further research on Anak, so I guess he was a giant or a Nephilim, and
Same thing.
Yeah, and
Could also be different things
I
though.
think that they were.
If Goliath was a giant and not,
And basically,
No,
I
it
think-
is a gray
I
area.
think they were
Nephilim translates to giant in English.
But whenever I think of Goliath, I don't
and they
think
said
of
the
Nephilim
descendants of Anak.
because I do think that
so
there's a
it's
difference.
referring to a people.
You are
in
wrong.
this. It's kind of funny.
So Goliath was a Nephilim.
No, which is why I talked about how it actually translates to very tall man.
Anakim.
Thank you.
So the Anakim.
Still talking?
The Anakim.
What do you think he's talking
The
about?
Anakim people was a race
Anakin?
of giants. Yes,
Get off
basically.
the mic.
Anakim people was a race of giants that were the sons of Amak, and I'm guessing that's who they were talking about.
So
The
was
Anakim.
Amak then
So
a
there's-
giant or an angel or a Nephilim or a fallen angel
Anak
to
was
be
a giant.
the father of?
Anak was a giant, and he was the forefather of the Anakim people who are being described there.
So if he was a giant and these were the descendants, that would go in with what Wyatt said about like what if these giants are Nephilim populating with more humans because they were created from a fallen angel and a human. Do you know what I'm
But the
saying?
point is, they specifically knew what race of giants they were. Like
The
what,
lineage.
like what family.
But
it appears
that
so.
makes me inclined to believe that they really were Nephilim. Unless they were just guessing.
But yeah, did they actually know? Or were they like, oh, those look like the Anakins over there. They look scary.
So I guess I kind of wanted just to read the verse again. But basically this is Numbers 13, starting in verse 26. It says, they came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. Verse 27, they gave Moses this account. Quote, we went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. So that's what they're saying.
They sound certain. In my
But
opinion.
then they say in verses 31, we can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. The land we explored devours those. It's like are they coming in with a bite? Like they're like, oh no, we can't do it. It's too much.
So something I have to add, which of course this is a what if, this is a possibility. I do not know the
What if?
answer. But what if they actually did see Nephilim there? But God was like, I mean, if they would have went, it would have been fine. It was like just a test of their faith in God. So they did see that, and then they saw that, and it psyched them out. So they didn't want to go. They chose to disobey and like kind of not trust God. So it was kind of like a trial. But if they would have went, the Nephilim wouldn't have bothered them. Or maybe they weren't even real and they just appeared in their head, vision. I mean, I don't know. But I'm just saying they could have actually seen that. And that could be why they went against God, but they just didn't have faith.
I guess what it really comes down to is the biggest part, which I think is the best thing that Lane mentioned, was that in the flood, only Noah's family remained and no one else. I don't know.
I think I did first mention that, but I mean, that is something that we already all knew. So it doesn't matter anyway. But I think the record will show that I was the first to mention that there was 8 people that lived in this podcast, and that was Noah's wife,
I said that first.
Noah, and Noah's 3 sons, plus their wives. Plus, if we would get into animals, I believe 7 pairs of the clean animals and 2 pairs of the dirty. But who knows?
Okay, wait, give me a second.
Do you need to talk, Philip? Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 2.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, no, I figured.
Yeah.
Verse 10. Here's what it says. The Emites used to live there, a people strong and numerous, and as tall as the Anakites. Okay? As tall as the Anakites. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 20. That too was considered a land of the Rephaites, who used to live there, but the Ammonites called them the Zamzuzites. These are good podcast names, by the way, if you're listening. They were people as strong and numerous and as tall as the Anakites. Okay? Now, I need to look at the context surrounding this a little bit further. I don't know if this is talking about the land of Canaan. It kind of looks like it's talking about Moab and the Moabites. But so basically what I'm saying is, the first verse was in the book of Numbers, talks about in the land of Canaan, they came back and they were like, no, the Anakites are there, the Nephilim are there. Okay? In the next book, in the book of Deuteronomy, I don't know if this is talking about the same thing, but they are talking about seeing other people, and they're like, those people are as tall as the Anakites. Not necessarily them physically, Nephilim, or necessarily physically the people of Anak. But it's like, whoa, those people are as tall as those people. So, like Philip said, the Anakites were a race of giants. The Israelites were probably very familiar with those race of giants. And they were like, those people are so big. Look, they look like they're even like as big as the giants in the old stories. Look how big they are. That it could be that.
Yeah, it could be.
And this verse says specifically, it doesn't say those are Anakites. They say they are as tall as the Anakites.
And unfortunately,
Look at 9-2.
this is not.
No, I know. Do not harass. So what Phil just says. Look at verse 9, which precedes verse 10. Obviously, then the Lord said to me, "Do not harass the Moabites or provoke them to war, for I do not give you any part of their land. I've given Ar to the descendants of Lot as a possession. The Ammonites used to live there as strongly."
Dang it! I was about to say, and the Moabites were from like Lot's
No, I didn't see that.
kind of son, because it was from his daughter. But I was gonna test my knowledge, but you gave me the answer.
So this is from some blog that I'm reading, but I think it explains this well. So basically it says the spies in Numbers 13, which is the verses we just read, were exaggerating, saying that the giants they saw in Canaan were the Nephilim of Genesis 6 in order to scare the people of Israel into agreeing with them that they shouldn't enter into the land and fight the battles.
Bingo!
So that's what I got. Rip, there's no more giants.
This is what I don't know if you already said this. This is the website gotquestions.org.
That's classic.
It's where I'm seeing my the verses from. But according to this, at least, it says
It's a two-part.
the name Anakim most likely means long-necked, i.e. tall, and the Hebrews thought them to be descendants of the Nephilim. So this is not Nephilim in and of themselves necessarily, but descendants of them.
Not even necessarily descendants; they were thought to be.
Yes.
Correct. Which, I mean, I think, end of the day, I do think that it is looking like, there is probably no reason to believe that Nephilim exists past the flood. However, it is still like, it could happen. Nothing, I don't think, directly suggests it, but obviously it is a possibility.
one theory I saw was that there was a Nephilim inside of one of Noah's daughter's womb, or like she had had a previous relationship or something like that. It's not a theory that I would subscribe to, but it is a
Are you
theory.
saying Noah's daughter was a hoe?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that was a theory I saw.
Call me crazy, but Noah had no daughters, right? It was just 3 sons.
Correct.
Thank you.
He had daughters-in-laws, though.
Daughter-in-law.
Which is a possibility. But whenever you said it first, I'm like, I'm going to own
So-
why you say this.
Yeah, it was Ham, Shem, and Japheth, I believe. Ross
Yeah.
has read it more recently than me.
You are
He had some
correct.
notes.
The last name that you read could be pronounced different, but something like that.
Japheth, or something
Yeah,
like
I cannot pretend like
Okay,
I know how to say
Sam
it.
Raken?
No.
Yes.
Maybe a
The
topic for
answer
another
to that
discussion.
that. Question that you
Also,
can
don't even
Philip
answer because they
is
possibly
no.
can't even hear Philip.
Right. Philip asked a disgusting question. No, it doesn't say it. So unfortunately, we are, we're looking at the time here. We're running a bit thin. But this was a pretty good discussion. Maybe part
Can
two
we circle back
coming
to
at some
the
point. No,
beginning?
I agree with Ross. I think if we all just want to sum up our final thoughts, and call it a day.
So basically, I think the consensus between all of us is that we do not think like extraterrestrial aliens are real. However, we believe that there are intellectual beings or maybe influence like Nephilim that kind of led to technology advancements. For example, pyramids, but at the end of the day, we don't really know because
Is that all?
we are dumb and we can't really understand how like some things are to be.
I don't know that.
If anybody has any objections to what I said, let me know.
Speak now.
Philip disagrees heavily.
No, I don't. I thought
He's
you-
backtracking.
I thought Lane was on the.
Seething.
I thought Lane was on the propaganda train.
Well, no, I think we all are, but I think what Ross was just saying was like maybe they helped out with the pyramids because they were pre-flood,
Oh yeah.
but we don't know.
Consensus is we don't know.
But
That is the
if
takeaway.
I were to choose one thing, not that it matters in really any sense, I'd probably choose it's probably some government stuff or some new world order stuff going on.
The fallen angels are working.
But once
with the
again-
rest of the world.
I do not know.
So before we say that we don't know again, I do think that we should probably conclude this. I do
That's
feel
what
like,
we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
but like actually conclude it instead of saying concluding and then handing the mic for somebody to say that we do not know
my
again.
idea was we each just say one last thing and wrap
Yeah.
up our final thoughts.
Okay,
You
so
got
Wait. I got.
yes,
I
I
got
already
I
got
got
my
his
turn.
turn.
So to conclude,
No, it's the
I do
last
not
one.
know. I think we're good here though.
I agree. Absolutely.
All right.
Lane didn't get his.
Oh wait, Lane did say.
Here, Philip's signing off. Here's Lane.
There is more I want to say on this topic, sadly.
Part 2.
But no,
Go
no.
into a little bit more of what you want to say, because I don't even know what else we did not cover.
I mean, but we're out of time.
Just real quick.
So okay,
TLDR.
so for me, it's like the whole idea of like the Nephilim creating this technology is like that is really out of nowhere. Like that, like maybe like if you want to read the Book of Enoch
That's
or
what
whatever,
I
and
prefaced
alchemy
with
and whatever, it comes from there. But like that, it comes solely from a source that's not in the Bible, which can still be accurate and can still be history and blah 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 blah. But it's like. If it only comes from there, like that's why I don't fully subscribe to it, because I don't believe it to be, the holy work of God. And I realize that we can talk about it later, blah blah blah. But so whether or not the Nephilim existed past the flood, whether or not they came back, whether or not they survived the flood, whatever you want to say, that it's all resting on whether or not the Book of Enoch is factual, and I'm not comfortable putting my faith in that book. And so that's why I tend to lean more towards the government conspiracy side of whoever is in charge is trying to make us feel insignificant, trying to make us feel like there's a trillion planets out there and we're just another one, and God doesn't want to have a personal relationship with us, which I believe he does. That's my piece.
Yes. So we talked about a lot. We went from aliens to Nephilim to technology to Nephilim, and then to Nephilim. But so I just want like a yes, no, or maybe like a short answer from you, Lane. So if you don't think that like Nephilim led to technology advances, do you think that humans kind of led to like where we are now technology wise and to the pyramids? Do you think that that was solely humans, or do you think that could be other things?
I think pyramids could be Nephilim. I didn't until tonight, but now I think pyramids could have been Nephilim. As far as technology goes, again, I don't know who they would have taught to survive the flood. Like the Nephilim came to Earth and taught like the Aztecs or whatever, and then they all died in the flood. So it's like, who did they teach Noah, who then survived the flood, and that's how we have the technology? Or in order for that to work, what you just said, Ross, in order for the Nephilim to have taught us technology like Eternals, they would have had to come after the flood, which I don't know if that happened.
Yeah,
So
I'm really
pyramids
not.
Is a yes, or is a maybe leaning yes. Technology is a maybe leaning no.
Yeah, I'm really not on board with the whole like, oh, he taught us, eternal, like they taught us how to like make a sword or something like that. I am not with that personally.
Also, just a final statement. I did.
In conclusion,
Yeah. In conclusion.
Conclusion, I don't know.
I do not know, but I did preface with if you choose to believe in the Book of Enoch. Also, if I'm not mistaken, once again I don't know, but I believe that it wasn't actually the Nephilim that taught alchemy in the Book of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch, if you choose to believe it, I think it was actually the fallen angels themselves.
So something for my fifth final statement, something
See ya.
that was kind of said that kind of led us to the point where like maybe Nephilim or whatever created these like, or like kind of passed on this technology and stuff, was the fact that there was similarities in all these different ancient civilizations, which I think the conclusion is we cannot answer why they were somehow connected or influenced by the same factors. But I mean, we are a minute and 12 deep.
I think that maybe they were just kind of big and strong, and so they could like help out a bit more with the pyramid construction. I don't know.
And on that note, thank you
Goodbye.
once again for listening to this week's episode of Second Kings. If you have any comments, you can email us at whatever our email is, and we'll see you next week.
If you do know, let us know in the comments, because we do not know.
Thank you.